People of the internet, welcome back to another video. It is I, Don Thomas, back in here with another one. As always, folks, the likes, the comments, the subscribes are all greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for the support on this channel. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into today's topic, folks. Got a video pulled up here. Comes from a content creator by the name of Jasmine Deshauna, in which she titles the video, "Women, Stop Saying I Don't Need a Man." Let's talk about it. Now, of course, folks, I see a title, usually jumps out to me. As of late, I've been speaking about the dynamic between men and women, especially in our relationships, the current dating climate amongst us millennials, Gen Zs, just people in general. And I hear this rhetoric a lot, especially on social media. Women will say, "Oh, I don't need a man. I don't need no man. I get it on my own." So I have my thoughts on this, of course. I want to hear her thoughts. Of course, I like when things like this actually come from women as opposed to men, because when it comes from a man, if a man was to say this, then women start acting like, oh, whatever the case is. But when a woman is actually saying these things, it kind of like, all right, cool. Gives me a little bit of hope that not all women think the same, or maybe that the social media rhetoric is different than the real life rhetoric. So, although this is, of course, coming from social media, but nonetheless, let's hear this woman's point. Again, it's entitled, "Women, Stop Saying I Don't Need a Man." See what she has to say. I'll share my thoughts. I encourage you guys to share your thoughts down in the comment section below. Let's get into it.
Hey everybody, welcome to Jasmine Deshauna and Happy New Year, guys. I hope you are having a blessed New Year so far. I wanted to step on really quickly and talk about the whole saying, "I don't need a man." So, we hear this saying a lot, and sadly to say, usually when we hear that saying, it's like the independent black woman thing, or "I don't need a man." And even my friends that I know who are career driven, their ambition, they have certain things, they have themselves together, but you don't see them constantly saying, "I don't need a man, I don't need a man," or "I don't need my husband." And I feel like in our community, this is something that we need to stop saying. I think especially when you are looking to get married and you're looking to, find someone to settle down, that is actually like the wrong thing to say. You don't want to keep saying that. I would also say, like, just having conversations with my friends and their husbands and different men, a man doesn't want you to constantly have to tell them, "Oh, I don't need you. I don't need a man." I feel like God made us in a way where men and women, we complement one another. Whatever this man may be lacking, the woman comes and she makes up for it, or whatever the woman may be lacking, the man comes and makes up for it. So we actually do need each other. I think it's the will of God. That's how things are supposed to be. So I feel like you don't need to constantly keep on reiterating, "Oh, I don't need you. I don't need you. I'm independent." I mean, yeah, it's okay. You can go out and get your degree. You can go out and, get your own home. It's fine. But to constantly keep pressing that could be one of the reasons why you are staying single, even though you are successful in your own right and you may have certain things. You may went out and bought your home, whatever the case may be. But if you constantly throwing that in that man's face, I feel like this is the thing too. Just having conversations with guys, is that I feel men want to come into that relationship and feel valued, feel like they are wanted, feel like they are needed in some capacity. I'm not saying that, you're feeding into an insecurity within him, but to feel valuable, to feel like I can come in and help her, I can do something. Most men, especially if it's a masculine man, will want that woman to feel that way. I feel like, there's no need to keep having to say that. And mainly, sadly, it's our community that's saying that. You rarely, I'm not saying that women outside of our community never says it, but usually it's like the independent black woman thing.
Pause it right there real quick. Shout out to this content creator, again, by the name of Jasmine Deshauna. She says a lot of things that I resonate with, man, and she says a lot of things that I hear a lot of the time as well, too. In terms of this, you know what it is? Let's just keep it real, ladies. You know what it is? In my personal opinion, and again, this is not a platform that I use to bash women or call y'all out or this, that, and the other. I always have to preface that, because nowadays we just assume any black man or any man in general with a microphone is a misogynist or whatever the case is, and that's not necessarily the case. But I will say this, ladies. I think a lot of the times when y'all say that, "Oh, I don't need a man. I don't need no man. I'm good on my own," I think that's just a coping mechanism that y'all are saying to kind of like soften the blow of the actual desire that you do have to actually be in a relationship and be married. I think women say that it's just like reverse psychology. If I psych myself up and tell myself that I don't need a man, then maybe my singleness won't hurt as much as it does. Ladies, just keep it real, man. Let's just keep it real. Even if you're the career-oriented woman, because I think that's what she was pertaining to a lot in this video as well too. Majority of the time you hear this based off of these strong black, let's just speak, because of course she was speaking to the black community. Let's just talk to the strong black woman real quick. I want to say this is just women in general as well too, but you know, she kind of spoke specifically to our culture, whatever the case is, so I'll kind of take it from there. Women have propped themselves off of the boss bees, right? I'm a boss, you know, this, that, and the other. Oh, you know, independent woman, this, that, and the other, of course. And yeah, y'all could be doing good and dandy in y'all careers, you know, make your own money, have your own home. You could be self-sufficient. I'm all for adults being self-sufficient, right? As you should be. If you're a grown-ass man or grown-ass woman, you should be self-sufficient. So nobody should be patting you on the back for doing what you're supposed to do. Okay, you have a good career. Okay, you have a home. You have a car. You can pay your bills. That's good. But when y'all go overboard and take it to the extent of I don't need no man, it's like you're saying that because it's either that you've been in a situation where you thought you had a good man, and for whatever reason or another, things didn't work out. So now you're single again. Or maybe you're watching your peers getting married and having kids, and maybe you're not quite there yet in your career as well too. So you tell yourself, I don't need a man. But in reality, you do long for those things. And it's okay. It's okay to say I want to be in a relationship. I think some of y'all, again, maybe whether it's a reverse psychology, coping mechanism, you say these things so maybe it doesn't hurt as much, and I get it, but I do think there's power in words. And like I think she was alluding to that as well too. By you constantly saying, I don't need a man, I don't need a man, you're probably solidifying exactly that. You're probably solidifying your singleness. So even me, I'll be completely honest. I hear this as well too, because I've said this a lot of the times on this channel as well too, that I have been in a chapter of isolation, I guess you could say. I haven't necessarily been quote unquote on the market. I've been focused. I've been working on my own personal development, and I am at a stage right now where I feel like, okay, cool. I've been doing this single man thing, this lone wolf thing for some time now. And I used to tell myself like, I still say like, you know, I feel a certain way about marriage, this and the other. I don't necessarily plan on getting married. I don't necessarily plan on having kids, but that's not because I'm hurt or because I really want these things and it's not happening. No, it's just, that's just a little bit different because I'm kind of looking at the world. Again, I kind of spoke on antinatalism, things of that nature. So I think when I say things like that, like I don't want to get married, I don't want to have kids, I'm looking at it from a societal economic standpoint, not a I can't get women or I'm sad or I'm heartbroken, whatever the case is. I think for women in general, I think for the greater majority, I do want to assume that y'all do desire to be a mom or a wife or a girlfriend, at least to some degree. Some women do have aspirations of being a mom. Some women have aspirations of being a wife. Some women have aspirations of just being a girlfriend. And maybe, you know, as you know, a lot of y'all, I do know that you are more so concerned about your biological clocks or your maternal clocks, whatever you guys call it. For the ones that do want to have children. And it can be a little bit stressful. Maybe you're getting up there in age, and I get that. But again, I don't think the solution is reverse psychology and psyching yourself and saying, I don't need a man. I think that rhetoric is mostly social media. But in the spaces that I'm kind of in, the people that I, you know, kind of interact with and the things that I kind of observe, y'all do want a man. Let's just keep it real, bro. Like, and maybe it's just the quality of men. Maybe you're not having luck on a dating scene, whatever the case is. Whatever the reason is for your singleness, I don't think the solution to be, okay, let me just switch the narrative and say, I don't need a man. Because the reality is, and I even said this as well too, from just a survival standpoint, I've been saying for some time, man, we're in some tricky times right now in the world, ladies, and I'd be concerned for y'all because, again, I love y'all. I love y'all women, man. I do want us to get back to a space where men do care more so of putting the protection of our women and children back at the forefront. I feel like we strayed away from that as men, holding us accountable as well too. I do feel like men have strayed away from the idea that we, you know, maybe once traditionally came up on, that we should be in charge of the protection of our women and children, right? So I also, in saying that, think from a survival standpoint, ladies, from a survival standpoint, the world that we are embarking on right now, I don't think it's safe for y'all to be alone. Okay, yeah, you have your own money and have your own house, but you feel safe? Let's just speak survival. Speaking, you know, in just survival mechanisms, you feel safe being in that home by yourself? I made a joke about this as well, too. You don't mind calling the plumber and taking the trash out to the curb every night and, you know, having, you know, take the car to mechanic. Maybe you have some male figures in your life, maybe a brother or uncle, whatever the case, that maybe helps you with those things, or maybe you just outsource whatever the case is. But even just from a survival and, you know, way of life, there's some things that I'm sure you don't want to be doing. You would prefer a man to do it, you know, whether that be fixing furniture, whether that be whatever the case is. Like, there's certain spaces where I'm pretty sure you appreciate the presence of a man. So again, I don't think the solution for you all is to be saying that you don't need a man. And again, she even spoke up, just spiritually speaking, again, for those of us who believe in God, I do believe it was ordained that way, man. I do believe that was the intention that God had. Again, if you want to take it back to Adam and Eve or whatever the case is, if you believe in that as well too. But I do believe, as I've always said myself as well too, that I haven't come across a greater unison than men and women. I think when done correctly, a healthy man and a healthy woman coming together is a beautiful match made in heaven. So ultimately, I do think we got to be more conscious of the words and the energy that we're putting out. Even me, myself right now, as I was saying earlier, I think I mentioned that I'm not opposed. I switched my mindset this year, 2025. Again, still kind of feeling away about marriage and children, but I'm not opposed to the idea of female companionship. I'm not. So I told myself this year I'm going to be a little bit more intentional, right? I switched my mindset. I switched how I was speaking, as opposed to saying like I'm super good. And don't get me wrong, I'm still super good being by myself. Like, you know, and again, it's not a cope. It's not a cope. Like I'm super okay with solitude. Like I have come to terms with my solitude. And maybe some of y'all have come to terms with your solitude. Ladies, let me know down in the comment section. Maybe you are all, or maybe confidently saying that you don't need a man because maybe you've just come to terms with your solitude and your singleness, maybe, you know. So if that's the situation, cool. But I do know, of course, even just speaking for myself, as I've been getting up there, what are the cases again? I'll be 36, God willing, in April. I'm not opposed to the idea of female companionship, of having a partner. In this new chapter of my life, I feel like I'm embarking on new things. I'm kind of, you know, expanding and kind of growing personally as well too, just kind of the things I got going on. And yeah, sometimes there's a feeling of wanting to share that with somebody. Of course, a female counterpart. As always mentioned, I love women. I'm never going to be the guy that gets on a microphone and degrades y'all or tells y'all down, whatever the case is. But I do think that there should be a level of accountability. I think women, it's okay. It's okay to say that you want a man, bro. I don't think you're helping the situation by saying, I don't need a man. I don't need no man. Man ain't shit, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. But lo and behold, you're eating ice cream, you're watching movies by yourself, knowing damn well you too would appreciate the companionship of a male counterpart. So maybe it's maybe it's reverse psychology. Maybe you're psyching yourself out mentally to say, okay, cool. If I say out loud that I don't need a man, then maybe the isolation and loneliness that I'm maybe feeling right now won't hurt as much. So again, maybe take my approach, man. Maybe even if you say I don't need a man, maybe you just change that narrative to I'm not opposed to the idea of having a man. There's maybe that. And maybe, you know, again, if you believe in God, whatever the case is, because if I would assume as well too, if we're just going to speak spiritually, if God is constantly hearing you say, I don't need a man, I don't need a man, he'll probably see to it that you don't get a man. Again, depending on what you believe. I don't know what your belief is, whoever's watching this, but God might see to it that, oh, you don't need a man? Bet. Well, let's just keep all the men away from you. And even if you're just having this conversation amongst other men, amongst your peers, whatever the case, if you're just kind of putting that energy out into the world, you might just be solidifying your singleness. So maybe change that rhetoric from I don't need a man to I'm not opposed to the idea of having a man in my life, and see what that does for you again. But those are my thoughts. Of course, I want to hear yours down in the comment section below. What do you make of this, ladies? Coming from another woman, Jasmine Deshana over on YouTube says we should stop saying that, or y'all should stop saying that. Stop saying you don't need a man. Do you agree with her? Are you okay in your singleness? Do you kind of agree that maybe words maybe have some power in the actual physical realm as well too? Maybe if just whatever your beliefs are, again, maybe spiritually speaking or emotionally, mentally speaking, do you think that maybe there's an alternative solution to the rhetoric of I don't need a man, knowing damn well you're probably longing to have a man? Those are my thoughts. Of course, I want to hear yours down in the comment section below. As always, the likes, the comments, the subscribes are all greatly appreciated. I will catch you guys on the next one.